Hey there, viewer. Before we dive into this super exciting story, let me ask you something. Have you ever had a nosy neighbor who acted like they were the boss of everyone? Maybe someone who watched you too closely or got mad about silly things. Drop a comment below and tell me where you're watching from today. Oh, and if you love stories where the kid nobody expects ends up surprising everyone, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on more. Okay, let's get going. Close your eyes for a second and imagine a street that looks like it's from a picture book. The houses are neat with bright green lawns and white fences that look perfect. Flowers bloom in every yard and birds chirp like they're happy to be there. It's the kind of place where nothing big or crazy ever happens, or at least that's what everyone thought. This is the neighborhood where our story begins, and trust me, it's about to get wild. Meet Jake. He's 15 years old with messy brown hair and a big smile that makes you like him right away. Jake isn't like most kids his age. While other teenagers are stuck inside, playing video games or texting friends, Jake has a different kind of fun. He loves drones. You know, those little flying machines that look like tiny helicopters. Jake's drone is his favorite thing in the world. It's black and shiny with a camera that can see everything from way up high. He spends hours in his backyard, making it zoom and spin, filming cool videos of the neighborhood. Jake's videos are awesome. Sometimes he records kids riding bikes down the street, their laughter echoing. Other times he catches dogs chasing balls or squirrels scampering up trees. Once he even got a video of a rainbow after a rainy day stretching across the sky like a giant smile. To Jake, flying his drone is like being an explorer, seeing the world from a new angle. He dreams of making movies one day, maybe even becoming famous for his videos. But here, the problem, not everyone thinks Jake's drone is cool, especially one person, Mrs. Karen Thompson. Karen is the boss of the Homeowners Association, or HOA for short. The HOA makes rules for the neighborhood, like how tall your grass can be or what color your mailbox should be. And Karen, she loves rules. She loves them so much, she carries a little notebook to write down anything she thinks is wrong. If your garbage can is out too early, Karen will know. If your dog barks too loud, Karen will knock on your door. Some people call her HOA Karen behind her back because she's always telling everyone what to do. Karen is tall and thin, with short blonde hair that's always perfect, like she just left a salon. She wears bright clothes and big sunglasses, and she walks around like she owns the whole street. To her, Jake's drone isn't a toy or a hobby. It's a big annoying problem. Every time she hears it buzzing, she steps onto her porch, arms crossed, staring at Jake's house. Her lips get all tight and her eyes squint like she's trying to shoot lasers. That thing is too loud, she'll mutter, or it's against the rules. Jake once overheard her telling another neighbor, "He's probably spying on us with that camera." Jake doesn't get why Karen cares so much. His drone doesn't hurt anyone. It doesn't crash into windows or scare pets. It just flies around minding its own business. Sure, sometimes it goes over other people's yards, but Jake is careful. He doesn't point the camera at anything private, like inside houses. He just likes seeing the neighborhood from above, the way the streets twist, the way the trees sway, the way everything looks small and peaceful. To him, it's like painting a picture with his drone. Still, Karen's complaints make Jake nervous. He's just a kid after all. He doesn't want to get in trouble. His parents are nice, but they're busy with work and don't always understand his drone obsession. His mom, Sarah, is a nurse who's always tired after long shifts. His dad, Mike, fixes cars and comes home smelling like oil. They tell Jake to be good and don't upset the neighbors, but they don't know how mean Karen can be. Once she left a note on their door that said, "Control your son's flying toy or I'll report it." Jake's mom rolled her eyes, but Jake could tell she was worried. The other neighbors are a mix. Some are friendly, like Mr. Lopez, who waves at Jake and asks about his drone. Others listen to Karen because she's loud and sounds important. A few even agree with her, saying the drone is weird or creepy. Jake tries to ignore them. He tells himself he's not doing anything wrong. He's just having fun, right? But deep down, he wonders if maybe Karen will find a way to stop him. What if she makes a new rule? What if she takes his drone away? What Jake doesn't know, what nobody knows, is that his drone is about to do something huge. Something that will change the whole neighborhood. See, Jake's just a regular kid with a cool hobby, but his drone, it's like a little detective flying around, seeing things nobody else notices. And one day, it's going to catch something so big, so surprising, that even Karen won't know what to do. Let's go back to that quiet street for a moment. It's a sunny afternoon and Jake is in his backyard as usual. His drone is ready to fly, its red propeller spinning fast. Jake's fingers move over the controller, making the drone lift off like a bird. It hums softly, climbing higher, the camera showing his phone a view of the world below. There's his house with its blue shutters and basketball hoop. There's Mr. Lopez watering his roses. There's a cat napping on a fence. Everything looks normal. But then the drone turns a little and the camera catches something else. It's Karen's house just across the street. Her curtains are open and she's inside, walking back and forth like she's upset. Jake doesn't mean to look, he's not trying to be nosy, but the drone's camera is sharp and it sees everything. Karen's waving her arms, talking to someone Jake can't see. Her face is red like she's yelling. Jake tilts the controller, moving the drone away. He doesn't want trouble, he just wants to fly. What Jake doesn't realize is that his drone saw something important. Something Karen doesn't want anyone to know about. It's not just her yelling or her fancy house. It's something bigger, something secret, something that could turn this quiet neighborhood into a place nobody forgets. Jake lands his drone and heads inside, thinking it's just another day. He's got homework to do and his mom's calling him for dinner. He doesn't know that Karen's watching from her porch, her phone in her hand, ready to make a call that will change everything. He doesn't know that his drone has already started something huge, like a snowball rolling down a hill, getting bigger and bigger. This is where our story starts to heat up. Jake, just a kid with a drone trying to have fun. Karen's the bossy neighbor who wants to stop him, but there's more to this than anyone thinks. There's a secret hiding in plain sight, and Jake's drone is about to shine a light on it. What do you think it could be? Is Karen just mad about the drone, or is she hiding something? And what happens when a kid like Jake accidentally stumbles into trouble? So what do you think Jake's drone caught that changed everything? Stick around because you won't believe what's coming next. This story's got twists, surprises, and a kid who's about to show everyone what he's made of. Keep watching and let's find out together. It was a bright, sunny Saturday afternoon, the kind of day that makes you want to be outside. Jake was in his backyard, a big grin on his face. His drone was buzzing like a happy bee, zipping high above the trees. He was trying out a brand new propeller, bright red, super speedy and awesome for making sharp turns. Jake held his phone, watching the drone's camera show him the world from way up high. On the screen, he saw kids riding bikes, laughing as they raced down the street. He saw dogs chasing balls, their tails wagging like crazy. The neighborhood looked calm and happy, just like always. Jake loved moments like this. Flying his drone made him feel free, like he could go anywhere. He tilted the controller, making the drone spin in a cool circle. "Nice one," he whispered to himself, proud of how smooth it flew. But then, bzzzt. The drone wobbled a tiny bit, and the camera turned without him meaning to. For just a second, it pointed at Karen's house across the street. Her curtains were wide open, and there she was, Mrs. Karen Thompson, the HOA boss, packing back and forth in her living room. She was waving her arms like she was arguing with someone, her face all scrunched up. Jake didn't think much of it. Karen was always mad about something. Maybe her TV wasn't working, or maybe she found a weed in her perfect lawn. He chuckled and moved the controller, steering the drone back toward his yard. Not my problem, he thought. He just wanted to keep flying and maybe get a video of the sunset later. But Karen, oh, she noticed that drone. She was standing on her porch, her big sunglasses glinting in the sun. She squinted hard, her eyes locked on the little black machine buzzing in the sky. Her face turned red, redder than Jake's new propeller. Her lips got tight and her hands balled into fists. "That's it," she shouted, so loud that half the street could hear her. She stomped off her porch, her flip-flops smacking the ground like tiny thunderclaps. She marched straight across the lawn, heading for Jake's house like a storm about to break. Jake was still landing his drone when he heard the banging. Thump, 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 someone was pounding on his front door. His heart skipped a beat. He set the drone down and ran inside, his sneakers squeaking on the floor. His mom, Sarah, got to the door first, wiping her hands on a dish towel. She looked confused as she opened it. "What's wrong, Mrs. Thompson?" his mom asked, her voice soft but worried. Karen stood there, pointing a finger like it was a sword. "Your son's spying on me with that machine," she snapped. She waved her arm toward the backyard where Jake's drone sat quietly on the grass. "It was flying over my house. It's against HOA rules and I'm calling the police." Jake peeked out from behind his mom, his stomach twisting like a knot. "I wasn't spying," he said, his voice shaking a little. "I was just flying it. It's not even loud." Corinne's eyes flashed. She didn't even look at Jake, like he wasn't worth her time. "Don't lie to me, young man," she said, her voice sharp. "I know what you're doing. You're sneaking around, looking in my windows." She pulled her phone out of her pocket, her fingers moving fast. "I'm done with this nonsense." Jake's mom stepped forward, trying to stay calm. "Corinne, it's just a toy," she said. "Jake, a good kid. He doesn't mean any harm." But Corinne wasn't listening. She turned her back and started talking into her phone. "Hello, 911. Yes, I need help right now. There's a drone invading my privacy. It's flying over my house this very second. Send someone quick." Her voice was loud and angry, like she was trying to make sure everyone heard. Jake felt his cheeks get hot. He wanted to yell back to tell her she was wrong, but his throat felt tight. He looked at his mom, hoping she'd fix it. She put a hand on his shoulder, but her face looked tired. "Corinne, please," she tried again. "Let's talk about this. There's no need to call the police." Corinne spun around, her flip-flops squeaking. "Talk," she said, like it was a bad word. "I've been talking for months. That boy's drone is a menace. It's spying, it's noisy, and it's dangerous. I'm going to make sure the HOA bans it for good." She stormed off, her phone still in her hand, promising trouble with every step. Jake and his mom stood in the doorway, watching her go. The air felt heavy, like something bad was coming. Jake's drone sat in the yard, its red propeller still, like it was waiting for him to decide what to do. "I didn't do anything wrong," Jake whispered, more to himself than to his mom. "I know, honey," his mom said, giving him a small smile. "She's just upset. We'll figure it out." But Jake wasn't so sure. His stomach still hurt and his heart was racing. He didn't mean to make anyone mad. All he wanted was to fly his drone, to feel that rush of seeing the world from above. Why did Corinne hate it so much? Why did she think he was spying? He was. He barely even looked at her house. But the way she yelled, the way she called the police, it made him feel small, like he was in big trouble for no reason. As he went back to his room, Jake couldn't stop thinking about Corinne's face. She wasn't just mad, she looked scared, like she was hiding something. He remembered how she was packing, waving her arms. Who was she talking to? Why did she care so much about one little drone? Most people would just grumble and move on, but Corinne was acting like Jake had done something terrible. What Jake didn't know, what nobody knew yet, was that Corinne's big fuss was about to blow up in her face. See, there was something going on in her house, something she didn't want anyone to find out about. She thought she could keep it secret, thought she could scare Jake into stopping his drone. But that drone, it had seen more than she realized. One quick glimpse, one tiny moment, and it caught something that could change everything. Jake sat on his bed, staring at his drone controller. He felt bad, but he also felt curious. Why was Corinne so worried? What was she afraid of? He didn't have answers, but he had a feeling, a tiny spark in his chest that maybe, just maybe, his drone knew something important. What do you think Corinne was hiding? Keep watching, because this story about to get really good. Something big is coming and Jake's drone is right in the middle of it. The next day things got strange, really strange. Jake woke up feeling like a balloon with all the air let out. His mom had grounded him, no drone flying until the HOA figured out what to do about Corinne's big complaint. "Just stay out of trouble," his mom said, her voice soft but serious. Jake nodded, but inside he was all mixed up. He didn't do anything wrong, so why was he stuck in his room like a kid who broke a rule? Jake flopped onto his bed, staring at the ceiling. His drone sat on his desk, its red propeller still, like it was waiting for him. He kept thinking about yesterday, Corinne yelling, banging on the door, calling the police. Her face wasn't just mad, it was too mad, like she was scared of something. Why did she care so much about his drone flying near her house? Most people would just grumble and forget it. But Corinne, she acted like Jake had caught her doing something bad. He sat up, curious. "What's her deal?" he muttered. He grabbed his laptop and opened the drone's video from yesterday. Maybe there was a clue, something he missed. His fingers tapped the keys and the screen lit up with the footage. There was his backyard, the trees, the kids on bikes. He scrubbed forward, moving the video to the part where the drone accidentally turned toward Karen's house. There she was, Karen packing in her living room, her arms waving like she was arguing with someone invisible. Jake paused the video, his heart beating a little faster. He leaned closer to the screen. Something caught his eye, something he hadn't noticed before. In the corner of her living room, behind her fancy couch, was a pile of boxes. Not regular moving boxes, but shiny ones, like the kind you'd see in a store with expensive stuff inside. They were stacked neatly, almost hidden by a plant. Jake's eyes got big. "Whoa," he whispered. He moved the video forward a tiny bit and froze it again. Now he saw something else. On her coffee table, right in plain sight, was a stack of money. Not just a few dollars, but thick bundles wrapped with little bands like you'd see in a movie about banks or robbers. "No way," Jake said, his voice barely a sound. He zoomed in, his fingers shaking. Yup, it was real piles of cash, clear as day, sitting in Karen's house like it was no big deal. His stomach did a flip. Why would Karen have all that money, and those boxes, what were they for? Jake leaned back, his mind racing. He remembered how Karen was always bragging about being the boss of the HOA's money. She'd stand at meetings, waving her clipboard, saying she was in charge of the dues everyone paid for things like new benches or streetlights. "I keep everything in order," she'd say, smiling like she was the smartest person in the room. Was this that money, the money from the neighbors, or was it something else, something not okay? He didn't know what to think. It felt weird, like a puzzle with missing pieces. Jake wanted to tell someone, but who? His parents. They'd probably say he was imagining things. "It's just a video, Jake," his dad would grunt. His mom might worry and tell him to stay away from Karen. The neighbors, most of them listened to Karen like she was the queen. If Jake said, "Hey, I saw money in her house," they'd laugh or tell him to mind his own business. And the police, no way. They'd never believe a kid with a drone over Mrs. Thompson, the HOA boss. Jake closed his laptop, but the picture of those boxes and cash stayed in his head. He felt like he was holding a secret, and it made his chest tight. He wasn't a spy, but now he wondered, what if Karen's the one hiding something? Meanwhile, Karen wasn't slowing down. That afternoon, Jake heard a commotion outside. He peeked out his window and saw neighbors walking toward the community center. Karen had called an emergency HOA meeting and everyone was going. Jake's mom sighed and grabbed her purse. "Stay here," she told Jake, but Jake was too curious. He slipped out the back door and followed, staying far enough behind so nobody noticed. At the meeting, Karen stood in front of everyone, holding her clipboard like a shield. Her voice was loud, filling the room. "That boy, a menace," she said, pointing toward Jake's house even though he wasn't there, or so she thought. "His drone is spying on all of us. It's not safe. We need to ban it right now." Jake hid in the back, his cheeks burning. He saw neighbors murmur, some nodding like they agreed. Mr. Carter, who always mowed his lawn twice a week, said, "Maybe she's right. That thing's always buzzing around." Mrs. Lee, who baked cookies for everyone, looked unsure but didn't say anything. Jake wanted to shout, "I'm not spying," but he stayed quiet, his hands in his pockets. Karen kept talking, her voice getting sharper. "I've already talked to the police," she said, holding up her phone like it was proof. "They're looking into it. We can't let kids run wild with machines like that." The room got louder, people whispering to each other. Jake felt smaller than ever. He wasn't a bad kid, he just liked his drone, but Karen was making everyone think he was trouble. As he snuck back home, Jake couldn't stop thinking about those boxes and cash. Karen was so loud, so sure of herself, but what if she was the one doing something wrong? What if his drone saw something she didn't want seen? The idea made his heart beat fast, not just scared, but excited, like he was in a detective story. That night, Jake made a brave choice. He waited until his parents were asleep, then tiptoed to the backyard. The moon was bright, casting shadows everywhere. He grabbed his drone, his fingers a little sweaty. Just one quick flight, he told himself. He wanted to see if those boxes were still in Karen's house or if there was something else. He kept the drone low, barely above the fences, so it wouldn't make much noise. His phone screen glowed as the camera showed him the neighborhood. He steered carefully, his hands steady. The drone glided toward Karen's house, slow and quiet. Jake held his breath as the camera zoomed in on her window. The boxes, gone, the cash on the table, gone too. The living room looked normal now, like nothing weird had ever been there. But Karen was inside and she didn't look normal. She was on her phone, whispering, her eyes darting around. She kept glancing at the door like she was waiting for someone or afraid someone might show up. Jake's heart pounded. He moved the drone a little closer, careful not to bump anything. Then, suddenly, headlights flashed in Karen's driveway. A car pulled up, not one Jake recognized, not a neighbor's. It was sleek and black, shiny under the streetlights, like something from a spy movie. Jake froze. Who was that? Why were they at Karen's house so late? He wanted to keep watching, but he heard a creak from his own house, his mom's footsteps. He quickly flew the drone back, landing it in the grass. He ran inside, his mind spinning. Who was at Karen's house so late? You're not gonna believe what happens next. The next morning, Jake woke up feeling like a ball of jitters. His stomach was all twisty, like he'd eaten too many cookies. He hadn't told anyone about the drone video yet, the one with Karen's boxes and cash and her sneaky late-night visitor. It kept playing in his head like a movie he couldn't pause. Those shiny boxes in her living room, that pile of money on her table, that black car pulling up so late. It all felt wrong, like a secret he wasn't supposed to know. Jake sat at his desk, his drone quiet beside him. He decided to do something smart. He plugged his drone into his computer and copied the video, saving it in a folder called Backup. Just in case something happened, like if Karen tried to make more trouble. His fingers shook a little as he clicked save. He didn't know what to do next. Should he show someone, tell his parent? But what if they didn't believe him? He was just a kid, and Karen was the big HOA boss. Before he could decide, a loud noise broke his thoughts. Woo woo woo, sirens screamed down the street, sharp and close. Jake's heart jumped. He ran to his window and pushed the curtain aside. 2 police cars were parked right outside, right in front of Karen's house. Their red and blue lights flashed, making the whole street look like a scene from a TV show. Jake's mouth went dry. Oh no, he whispered. Had Karen called 911 again? Was she trying to blame him for something new? His mind raced back to her yelling about his drone, saying he was spying. He grabbed his phone and slipped on his sneakers, his hands sweaty. He had to know what was happening. He crept outside, staying low, and hid behind a big tree in his front yard to watch. But this wasn't about Jake. The police weren't at his house. They were at Karen's. 2 officers stood on her porch, their voices low but firm. Karen was there too, and she did not look happy. She had her arms crossed tight, her face red like a tomato. "This is ridiculous," she shouted, loud enough for Jake to hear from his hiding spot. "I'm the victim here. You should be talking to that kid with the drone." Jake's heart pounded so hard he thought it might pop out. He peeked around the tree, trying to see more. That's when he noticed something that made his eyes go wide. One of the officers was holding a box, a shiny one, just like the ones he saw in Karen's living room. It glinted in the sunlight, fancy and out of place. Another officer walked out of her house carrying a big black bag. Jake squinted and saw something poking out, green paper like money, bundled up tight. He gasped, covering his mouth so nobody heard. It was the same kind of cash he'd seen in his video. His drone had caught it, clear as day, sitting on Karen's table. Now the police had it. What was going on? A neighbor, Mrs. Lee from down the street, stood on her lawn, watching with her hands over her mouth. "They're arresting her," she said to Mr. Carter, who was next to her. Mr. Carter's eyes got big and he shook his head like he couldn't believe it. Jake's jaw dropped so low it almost hit the ground. Arresting Karen? For what? He inched closer, staying behind bushes so nobody saw him. He wanted to hear everything. The officers were talking to each other, and one of their radios crackled with a voice. Jake caught a few words: HOA funds, stolen evidence. It was like a lightning bolt hit him right in the brain. Everything clicked together like puzzle pieces. Karen wasn't just mad about his drone. She was scared. Scared because Jake's drone had seen something it wasn't supposed to. Those boxes, that cash, it didn't belong to her. She'd been taking money from the HOA, money the neighbors paid for things like fixing the playground or putting up streetlights. Maybe she'd been doing it for a long time, hiding it in her house, thinking nobody would ever find out. Jake's mind spun. He remembered Karen at the HOA meetings, always talking about how she managed the money. She'd wave her clipboard and smile, saying everything was fine, but it wasn't fine. She was stealing, and his drone had caught her secret by accident. The best part, Karen had messed up big time. Jake couldn't help but grin a little. She'd called 911 herself, thinking she could get him in trouble. She wanted the police to think Jake was the bad guy spying on her with his dangerous drone. But the police weren't there for Jake. They were already looking into Karen. Maybe another neighbor had noticed something weird, like how the HOA never had enough money for new benches. Maybe someone else had tipped them off. When Karen called 911, yelling about a drone invasion, the police showed up, but not to help her. They came to search her house, and they found exactly what they needed. Jake watched as the officers walked Karen to the police car. Her hands were behind her back, and she wasn't shouting anymore. She looked smaller now, not like the bossy lady who scared everyone. Her fancy sunglasses were gone, and her hair was messy. She kept shaking her head, muttering something Jake couldn't hear. Then she saw him. Karen's eyes locked onto Jake, standing by the tree with his phone in his hand. Her face twisted, and she pointed at him, even with the officer holding her arm. "You," she hissed, her voice sharp like a knife. "This is all your fault, you and that stupid drone." The officer gently pushed her toward the car, telling her to calm down. But Karen kept glaring at Jake, her eyes full of fire. For a second, Jake felt a chill, like she might never forgive him. But then something else happened inside him. He stood a little taller. His heart wasn't racing anymore. For the first time in days, he didn't feel small or scared. He felt strong, like he'd done something important, even if it was by accident. Jake slipped his hand into his pocket, feeling the drone controller still there. His little toy, the one Karen hated, had changed everything. It wasn't just a toy anymore. It was like a superhero's gadget, finding secrets nobody else could see. He looked at the police car as they closed the door on Karen. The neighbors were whispering, some shocked, some nodding like they'd always known Karen was up to no good. Jake took a deep breath. He didn't know what would happen next, but he knew one thing. Karen wasn't the boss anymore, and he wasn't just that kid with the drone. He was the kid who helped catch a thief, even if he didn't mean to. Can you believe Karen thought she'd get away with it? Let's see how this wraps up. The neighborhood wasn't the same after that crazy day. For days, everyone was talking, whispering on porches, chatting over fences. Karen was gone, taken away by the police to answer for what she did. Turns out she'd been sneaky for a long time, taking thousands of dollars from the HOA. She tricked people by making fake papers, saying things cost more than they did. She even sold stuff that belonged to the neighborhood, like old park benches, to get extra money. Those shiny boxes Jake saw, they were full of fancy things she bought with the stolen cash, planning to sell them online for even more. Jake couldn't believe it. His little drone had helped uncover a big secret. He'd shown his video to the police, the one with the boxes and cash in Karen's house. It wasn't the only proof they had, but it helped show she was hiding something bad. The police nodded when Jake handed it over, and one officer even said, "Good job, kid." Jake's chest puffed up a little. He wasn't used to grown-ups saying stuff like that. The neighbors were shocked. People who used to agree with Karen, nodding when she called Jake a troublemaker, now looked embarrassed. Mr. Carter, who always mowed his lawn super neat, came by Jake's house with a plate of cookies. "I was wrong about you," he said, scratching his head. "That drone of yours did something good." Mrs. Lee, who lived 2 doors down, smiled at Jake when she saw him outside. "You're a smart kid," she said. Jake's face got warm, but he smiled back. He wasn't just that kid with the drone anymore. He was the kid who helped catch a thief. A week later, the HOA had a big meeting. Everyone squeezed into the community center, sitting on folding chairs. Jake's mom made him come, even though he felt shy. He sat in the back, picking at a loose thread on his jeans. Karen wasn't there, of course. She was dealing with the police somewhere far away. The new HOA leader, a nice lady named Ms. Patel, stood up to talk. She said the neighborhood needed to pick up the pieces and make things right. Then Jake's mom surprised him. She stood up, her voice clear and strong. "I want to say something," she said. "My son Jake isn't a menace. His drone helped us see the truth about what was going on. He didn't mean to cause trouble. He was just being a kid, but he ended up helping us all. The room got quiet for a second and then people started clapping. Jake's ears turned red. He looked down at his sneakers, but inside he felt like he was flying higher than his drone ever could. Ms. Patel smiled and added, "Karen wanted to ban drones, but I think we all agree that's silly now. Jake's drone did us a favor." The neighbors nodded and someone even cheered. They voted right then to throw out the drone ban Karen had pushed so hard for. Jake couldn't stop grinning. He felt like a weight had lifted off his shoulders. After that, Jake went back to flying his drone. He'd take it out to the backyard, letting it soar above the trees, its red propeller spinning fast. But now it felt different. He wasn't just playing, he was proud. He felt like he was watching out for his neighborhood, like a guard with a tiny flying helper. One day, Ms. Patel stopped by and asked if he filmed the next community picnic. "Your videos are awesome," she said. "We'd love to have one for our website." Jake's jaw dropped him. Making a video for the whole neighborhood. He said yes so fast he almost tripped over his words. As for Karen, word got around that she was in big trouble. She had to pay a huge fine, and some people said she might even go to jail. Nobody felt sorry for her. The neighborhood got its money back, well, most of it. They used it to fix things Karen had ignored for years. The playground got new swings and a shiny slide. They put up new benches by the park, ones that didn't wobble. Kids ran around, laughing, and grown-ups sat chatting, happy to have their community back. Jake liked walking by the playground now. He'd see the new stuff and think, my drone helped with that. It made him stand a little taller. He wasn't scared of Karen anymore or anyone else who might try to boss him around. He learned something big. Sometimes even a kid with a toy can make a difference. Oh, what a story, right? That's the tale of Jake, his little drone, and the HOA lady Karen who thought she could trick everyone. It's kind of funny when you think about it. Karen was so loud, always yelling and pointing fingers, acting like she was the boss of the whole neighborhood. But all that noise, it was just a way to hide her big secret. And Jake, he was just a quiet kid with a toy doing what he loved. Nobody thought he could do anything important, not Karen, not even some of the neighbors. But in the end, he turned out to be the hero. It makes you think, doesn't it? Sometimes the people who talk the loudest have something to hide. They might act big and important, but it's like they're covering up a mess. And sometimes the people who seem small, like a kid with a drone or maybe just someone who doesn't say much, end up surprising everyone. Jake didn't set out to catch a thief. He was just flying his drone, having fun being himself. But because he kept going, even when Karen tried to stop him, he changed everything. There's a big lesson here, and I want you to hold on to it tight. Don't ever think someone's not important just because they're quiet or young or different. Don't count out the kid next door who's always building stuff in their garage. Don't ignore the shy person who loves drawing or the one who's always reading books. And most of all, don't count out yourself. You might feel like you're not big enough or loud enough to make a difference, but you are. Everyone has something special inside them, like a spark waiting to shine. Think about Jake for a second. He wasn't trying to be a detective. He didn't wake up one day and say, "I'm gonna catch a bad guy." He was just doing what he loved, flying his drone, making videos, seeing the world in a new way. But that's what made him powerful. He didn't give up, even when Karen yelled at him or when he got grounded. He stayed curious. He looked a little closer. And because of that, he found something nobody else saw. His drone was small, but it